So welcome to the day 7 session of APM with Python. Today we are going to continue with our discussion on the concepts of object-oriented programming, where we are going to talk about the concept of inheritance. We are going to talk about the concepts of method overloading and overriding, and we are going to talk about the concept of interfaces. So this is what we are going to discuss today. So yesterday we have discussed about the concept of how we can create a class, how we were able to create the objects of that class, and we discussed about the object variable and the class variable, and we did a few exercises. I hope the concept we discussed yesterday are clear. We also spoke about the init method, which is the constructor in Python. So I hope that part or that aspect is clear to you guys. So we are now going to talk about the concept of inheritance. So the concept of inheritance basically says that a class can derive feature function set from another class by using inheritance. In this case, the inheriting class becomes the child class of the class it's inheriting features from, which becomes the parent class. Also, they are known as superclass and subclass. Sometimes people use these words also. But inheritance basically says that exists a parent class. There exists a parent class, and then you have got a child class which basically inherits the feature function set of the parent class. So vice versa is not true. The parent is not inheriting from the child. The child is inheriting from the parent, which effectively means that the child will be able to access the features, which is attributes or properties, and the functions, which are methods, from the parent class. So that is what the concept of inheritance talks about. So what we are going to see in here is, the concept of a multi-level inheritance, where we create a class which is inherited by another class and further inherited again. So we are going to have a look at a multi-level inheritance. So what we do is we create a class employee, and then we create our constructor. We define three attributes: name, salary, and designation, which we initialize in here. Then it has got one function called as display employee, which effectively prints the name, salary, and the designation associated with the employee object. Okay. So one method, three attributes: name, salary, designation. Then you have created a class manager which inherits from employee. So manager is an employee. The relationship which exists between inheritances is a relationship. This is how you create inheritance. In bracket, you provide the name of the class from which this class is inheriting. You have the constructor available. So the constructor of the manager class should also initialize the attributes associated with that of employee class. So this class doesn't have any of its attributes of its own. It has taken attributes from the employee class and is initializing them. And then there is a method called as team size, which simply asks the user to input the team size and prints it. So the manager, which is inheriting from employee, doesn't have any attributes but a function called as team size, where it is prompting the user to enter the team size and it is printing it. Then we have created a class called as CXO class, which is inheriting the feature function set from manager. So it will have to initialize the features of the employee also, because manager inherits from employee. Besides it, it has got its own two attributes, shares and tenure. So we initialize all this data in here. Then it has got a method called as profit earned, where we simply say number of shares into number of salary by 100 is the profit percentage the person or the CXO has secured. So there is one method, profit earned. Now let us see what happens when we create an object of the CXO class. When you create an object of the CXO class, are you able to see that you can access display employee, you can express display employee, profit earned and team size methods? These methods are not associated, all of these methods are not associated with the CXO class, but these methods are associated with the above classes from which it is inheriting, like team sizes from the manager class and display employees from the employee class. Only profit earned is from CXO. Do you notice that? Do we notice that, all of you? Also, the variables share, salary, name, designation, tenure are all accessible to the CXO object. Now let us try to create an object of the manager type. We say manager in bracket, we pass the name, the salary, the designation. Now if you create an object of manager type, do you see that you can only access name, salary, designation, display employee and team size methods? Share tenures and profit earned are not accessible in here. We notice that, right? Similarly, if you create a class of employee type, you will be only able to see designation, name, salary and display employee. You do not see team size or any other method, right? So EMP dot will only allow you to access the methods and the features of the employee class. Manager object will be able to access employee and manager attributes and function. CXO will be able to access manager, employee and CXO functions and features. Is this clear? You can ask your questions. Yes, we have multiple inheritance in Python. We will see the example in a short while. Yes, I am there. You are typing the questions in different lines. I am unable to make sense out of it. Can you just put it in one line what your question is, Samir? Okay. So, Marian, you had a question why we have to initialize the variables of the child class in the why do we have to initialize the variables of the parent class in the child class? The child class is inheriting the features function set of the parent class. When you are creating an object of manager type, the manager type also holds attributes name, salary, and designation. Do you understand this aspect? There is a class created, okay? Class A. Class A has got two attributes, let's say name and marks, okay? Fine. Class A has got two attributes, name and marks. Then we have created a class B which has got another attribute, let's say age. I say class B inherits from class A, which means that when I create object of class B, it will be able to access age, name and marks. Is this clear? So the object of class B also has characteristics from the class A. Now when you are creating the object of class B, you would like to provide information about age, name and marks, right? Because vice versa is not true. You cannot create an object of class A and think class B is also going to get initialized. It is not going to happen. Is that right? Class A is being inherited by class B. Class B is not getting inherited by class A. So if I am going to create an object of class B, from where will I get values for name and marks? Who will provide that? No, it will not take it from A. Remember, I am not creating an object of class A. I am creating an object of class B. I am creating an object of class B. But class B only has got age as its own attribute. Name and marks it is taking from class A. No, it is not independent of A. It is inheriting from A. If I am trying to create an object of class B, I would also have to provide information for name and marks because name and marks are the attributes which B has inherited. So from where do I provide these values? I have to give B the access to these values, which we do it in B's constructor. Just understand it as a rule when we are creating a child class which is inheriting from a parent class, the attributes of the parent class will get passed in the init method of the child class. The attributes associated with the parent class will get passed in the init method of the child class, because when you are going to create an object of the child class, you will also have to provide data to these values. Okay, I cannot assume that since I have created this manager Gioni with this salary, with this designation, that also means I have initialized the information for a CXO object. I cannot do that, because vice versa inheritance is not allowed. Inheritance flows in one direction. But when I am creating a CXO object, I have to pass information for all the attributes from which CXO is inheriting. So CXO is actually inheriting from manager, manager inherits from employee. So besides the data which CXO will require, I will also have to pass data which manager or employee may require, so that I am able to provide data to these attributes so that I can access them. So it is like this, that now CXO has got 5 attributes. Two of its own, 3 of its grandparent class. So in total, CXO now contains 5 attributes. Let us say your parents own a house. Okay? Your parents own a house. And you, as a child, own 2 houses. As a child of your parents, you have a legal right to inherit their house. They are not going to inherit your house, right? You have a legal right to inherit their property. They don't have a legal right to inherit your property. Let's say they are no more and you inherit the house. Okay, you have inherited the 3rd house. If you have to pay a house tax now, will you be paying house tax for all 3 houses or only for your own 2 houses? If you want to still access this house, you will have to pay the house tax associated with this also, right? So the data associated becomes your responsibility. It becomes your responsibility. Similarly, the data associated with the child class, data of the parent class, which now is going to get associated with the child class, becomes child class responsibility. Okay? So though it's not a very good analogy, but try to relate it to it. The concept of inheritance is largely derived from the real world. And that is one of the benefits of object-oriented programming. The reason object-oriented programming came into picture was simply because we faced restrictions with procedural languages where we wanted to mimic the real-time world and the concepts out there, because inheritance is a relation which we see in real-time world. Okay, good to know that it helped. So keep that thing in mind. Now we are going to have a look at a concept of multiple inheritance. We have to understand that this concept is not supported in a lot of other programming languages, but it is supported in Python, which is the concept of multiple inheritance, which basically says that I can create a class which is inheriting from 2 other classes. So I can create a class which inherits from 2 other classes. In that, what would happen? I will be able to use the feature function set of both the classes. So I've created a class called as person, which has got name, age and gender as attributes. And then I have created a method called as display, which simply provides the information associated with that of the person class. Then you have created a class called as marks. In here, you do not have any attributes. Also, this class is not inheriting from any other class. It's a simple independent class. It has got its own init method in which I am asking the user to enter the marks associated with few of the objects, literature, biology, physics. So when I create an object of the marks class, I am asking the user to provide information associated with some of the objects, and in the display method I am going to print information associated with the subject marks. Then we have created a class called as student, which initializes person class and which also initializes the marks. Okay, so it is initializing the person and it is initializing the marks. So it is calling the constructor associated with the person class, another way to instantiate the attributes, and it is calling the constructor associated with the marks class, another way to initialize the attributes. It has got its own method called as result, in which I am calling the display method of person class and marks class. Okay, it has got its own method called as result, which is simply calling the display method of person class and marks class in here. I create two objects of student class and I call the result method of the student class. Let's try to run to see the behavior. So when I ask for the student class to get created, is ask me for the name, is ask me for the age, then it is asking me for the marks to be provided. Then it is asking me for another child, asking me marks for another child. Okay. So from where this information is coming, when I am trying to initialize the student class object, what would happen? In the initialize method of student class object, it first calls the initialize method of the person class. Let's go to person class. In the person class, it is asking the user to provide the name, age and gender. Okay, it is prompting the user to provide name, age and gender, which it would initialize. In the marks class, it is asking the user to provide values for literature, maths, biology and physics. Okay, which we initialize and provide data for. So the init methods of both the classes are called. Then we have the result method. In the result method, it first calls the result method associated with the parent class, and then it calls the result method associated with the child class result method of the marks class. So I am sharing this code first for person class, then from class B, which is the marks class, then finally from the class student, which inherits from both person and marks. Have a look at it. If you have any questions, let me know. Notice that in this class, the way we have initialized the attributes data and we have called the constructors in the child class is a little different than we have seen, but nevertheless we can also do it this way. So instead of providing the data at the time of object creation, it is prompted to the user to provide the data. That is why this difference. So instead of providing the data ourselves and hard coding the values, when we try to create an object, we are prompting the user to basically provide us with the data to keep it dynamic. Any questions in here? Any part which is not clear? Okay, Marian. Samir, do you have a question? Okay, let's try an exercise. In this exercise, you will have to try the concept of multiple inheritance. And the question is like this. Create a class animal. So it will have both multiple inheritance and multi-level. So you have to create a class as animal, then create a child class as land animal and another child class as water animal. So they both are inheriting from the animal class. Okay. So they both inherit from the animal class. And then you have to create a fourth class which is an amphibian, which basically inherits from land animal and water animal. Okay, you can just have one attribute and one function in each of them, or maybe you can decide how would you like to do it, but I would like to see the flow you have created. So you have to create a class, parent class, main class, super class is animal, from which two different classes are inheriting, land animal and water animal. And then from both land animal and water animal, a fourth class gets created called as amphibian, which inherits both from water animal and land animal. Please try it out right now. To create it, you can just take one attribute and one method to simplify things. Please attempt it and share your code. Any progress? Okay, fine. I believe you can improve your approach and make it a little bit more relevant, but nevertheless, this is also fine. Yes, Marian, you. No, the data which you have provided is indeed relevant for the for the all the classes animal, land element, water, and amphibian. But I was hoping that you would have used some function where you were manipulating the data as well, or maybe prompting the user to provide some data. So I am just asking that you can improve this code. I am not saying it is wrong. I am just saying you can improve this code. Your approach is also fine, Samir. Same response for you. You can improve this code. Okay. Because for example, let's say when you are going to create an object of amphibian class, it is going to prompt the user to provide the name for amphibian animal. Also, it is going at the same time to prompt user to provide the name for land animal and water animal, right? Which may not be what we are looking for. So think about how you can improve your code, the flow of creation of classes, and the way you guys have used the concept of inheritance is correct. You can improve upon the feature function set and make it a better exercise later. Any questions in here? Any questions in here? So we are now going to talk about two important concepts which also gets spoken about when we are talking about the concept of inheritance. And these two concepts are the concept of overloading and the concept of overriding. So what does overloading means? Overloading means a child class can have a method with the same name as that of parent but different signature. By signature I mean different input argument and output and body. So in overloading, a child class can have a method with the same name as that of a parent but with different signature. For example, let us say in the parent class I create a method which simply says print hello. Okay. Then I create another class which inherits from the for above class. Here I also create a method having the same name but a different signature and a body. So do you see the difference between these two methods? This is overloading. The method in the child class has the same name in the parent class but the signature is different. So signature and the body is different. It could also have a different output. Is this clear? When I create a child of class B, I will be able to access both methods. Say hello of B and say hello of A. Okay? This is what the concept of overloading says. Is this clear? Then you have got the concept of overriding. The concept of overriding says a child class can have a method with the same name and signature than that of the parent class. So in this case, the child class method is going to override the parent class method. What do we mean by that? Let's see an example. Here I create a method say by, where I say simply print by. I create another class which inherits from the above class. The method is going to have the same name and same signature. So my signature is same but my body is different. Here I say print. Now when you create an object of class B, only class B method is accessible because the class B method has overridden the class A method. In the concept of overriding, only one instance of the method remains. In the case of overriding, only one instance of remains, which is the method in the child class. The child class method will override the method information from the parent class. As they both have the same name and same signature, only one method, that is from the child class, will be accessible. Is this clear? The difference between overloading and overriding. What is that you don't understand in overloading? You can tell me. If you need to access class A, then you create class A object and you can access the method. But if you are creating an object of class B, when your method is overridden, then class A method will never be accessible. Class A method is only accessible for class A object. Class B, when you create an object of class B, only the B implementation will be accessible because B implementation has overridden the A implementation. We are not, it is not the same method. If you look at it, the method structure is changed. It is the same name, but the method structure is changed. In fact, the method implementation has also changed. It is just that the name is same. It is like you have created plain rice and you have created a rice full of vegetables. The rice is still there, but it is not changed structure. The structure is changed, the flavor is changed. So it is overloaded. In both the situations, you have got the same method. In one, you are overloading, you are providing extra information.